Today we're going to talk about function notes. Some vocabulary to review. A relation is a set of ordered pairs. Okay, so for example, you have ordered pairs here. So in parentheses, 4, 3, 5, 4, 0, -1, 2, 1, and all of them are enclosed in these curly brackets. Okay, a relation can be written as a function, which is a form of equation, a list, or a table. We'll show you all three of these in a little bit. So record the ordered pairs from the example above. So for example, it's an XY table. Remember, your X comes first, then your Y. So they put 4 in the X column, 3 in the Y column. So then 5, 4, 0, -1, 2, 1. That is one way to write a relation. Now, if you write these out in list format, the domain and range need to be in numerical order. So in other words, least to greatest. So let's look at an example. So a domain is the first numbers in the ordered pair, or the X values. If you go back and look at your coordinate plane notes, you can see when we talked about the X coordinate, another name for it was domain. The range is the second number in the ordered pair, which is the Y values. So the domain in the example above is going to be your X's. And remember, we have to write them in numerical order. So I'm going to write curly bracket, 0, 2, 4, 5, all separated by commas. And for the range, open it up with a curly bracket. Least to greatest is going to be -1, 1, 3, 4. Make sure you close each set with another curly bracket. When graphing a relation, you want to use the ordered pair above to graph the relation on a coordinate plane. So looking at our table, we had 4, 3. So I'm going to graph, remember you start at the origin. I'm going to walk 4, fly 3, 5, 4, start at the origin, walk 5, fly 4, 0, -1. So I'm going to walk 0 units, fly down -1 units, 2, 1. So I'm going to walk 2 units to the right, fly 1 unit up. You notice that this forms a line. Or a function. Okay, a function is a relation in which each element in the domain, or the X values, is paired with exactly one element in the range, or the Y values. So when I go to plot 2, 1, there's only one X that goes with that Y. An easy way to remember that is that the X value cannot repeat, but the y values can. Let's talk about some examples. Are the following functions? Remember, x value cannot repeat. Okay, so I have a 3, 8, 5, and 1 for my x values. So no x repeats, so yes, this is a function. But in example B, I have a 7, 6, 7, 5, and 1. So the 7s repeat, so no, this is not a function. If you're looking at it through a graph, you can use the vertical line test. When presented with a graph, you can determine whether a relation is a function by drawing a vertical line. You can also use your pencil. Just make sure it is vertically on the page. Remember, that is up and down. So you draw a vertical line through each point on the line. If it does not go through more than one point, then it is a function. So for example, if I only have one point through the line, then yes, this is a function. But when I draw my line, if I have two or more that go through that vertical line, then no, it is not a function. Turn the page and let's do some practice. Using the given set, 2, 3, -1, 0, 3, -4, 4, -2, we're going to put it in a table format. We're going to graph it, and we're also going to put what's called mapping. Okay, so we're going to use each of these to show different ways to represent a function, or a set, sorry. First, let's look at our table. Remember, the first value is my x, the second value is my y. So I'm write 2, 3, -1, 0, 3, -4, 4, 2. Okay, so that's how you can take a given set or a relation and plot it into a table. Let's look at the graph. Remember, you want to walk, then fly, starting at the origin. So I'm going to go right 2, up 3, left 1, and then you're flying 0, so you stay on the x-axis. Walk 3, fly down -4, walk 4, fly up 2. If you use your vertical line test, through this point, there's only one point that goes through here, only one point that goes through this line, only one point that goes through this line, and only one point that goes through this line. So that means this is a function. Now looking at your mapping, okay, it's very similar to your tables. Oops. This is your x, or your domain. This is your y, or your range. Okay, and you write down what you have. So I have a 2, -1, 3, and a 4 for my x values, 3, 0, -4, 2 for my y values. and you want to map where each x value goes to the y value. So in example 2 goes with the y value 3. So I'm going to draw an arrow to that. -1 goes to the y value 0. 3 goes to the y value -4. 4 goes to the y value 2. If you have any repeating x or y values, you only have to write it once. Now let's look at some examples where it's a function. So if this is a function, y equals 2x minus 1. Remember, your domain is your x values, your range is your y values. A relation in which no two ordered pairs have the same x values. Remember, x does not repeat. And here's a table version of some ordered pairs. Let's plot these on the graph. So I have 2, -2, +5, 0, -1, 1, 1, 2, +3. Okay, this is a function because if I use the vertical line test through each of these lines, there's only one point on each of these lines. Within our mapping, so we're going to take our table and we're going to put it in our map. So you have -2, 0, 1, 2, 5, -1, 1, 3, and then you want to map each x to their y. And you note that each x only has one arrow, so that's a function. And your domain, if you have a set written like this, and you want to list your domain out, make sure you do it in least to greatest order. So I have -2, 0, 1, 2. Make sure you close it with curly brackets and separate each number with commas. My range is -1, 1, 3, 5. Remember, it's got to be in least to greatest order. There's only one x for every y. X does not repeat, so it is a function. Now let's look at some examples where it is not a function. So, not a function. It still has a domain and range, but x repeats. So in this example, you notice in your x column you have multiple 2's. So when I go to graph this on a line at 2, 0, 0, 5, 1, -1, and 2, -3, my vertical line test will fail because right here I have multiple points on one vertical line. So that makes it not a function. So when I go to map it, I have my x's and my y's, and I list them out, 2, 0, 1. Remember, because I have multiple of the same, I do not have to write it twice. 2 goes to 0, and also 2 goes to -3. So you can see how I branched off of that same 2. And that also shows that it's not going to be a function because my x repeats. The domain for this set is going to be 0, 1, 2. And again, you don't have to write your 2 twice. My range is -3, -1, 0, 5. Make sure they are in numerical order, in curly brackets, and separated with commas. If you have any questions, ask your teacher.